Hello, family. It's been a long time. Welcome to Essential Therapy Wellness Center. This will be the first video in maybe like over 6 months, easy. I won't apologize for it though, because it has definitely been time that has been needed for me, and my husband, and just life. Life be lifing. I have a couple of probing questions to ask just before we get started, before I catch everyone up. Kendall is in the garage painting. I just decided to do this impromptu video because I felt like it was time, right? No explanation as to no big explanation, but just filling people in a little bit, because I know that what I'm putting out will resonate with many of you. But before we get started, Diamond is coming here to bother me. You see her? Okay, girl. Every time I start to record, so I know y'all missed her too. But I have a couple questions before we start this chat, if you will. Have you ever had a season where everything changed all at once? Hello, somebody. What's one lesson life taught you recently? Anybody else learning how to rest without guilt? And have you ever outgrown a version of yourself? Now, if you see me looking off to the side, it's because I have my talking points. I absolutely did not want to get off topic. I might merge a little bit, but I just wanted some talking points to kind of get started. So, just a little bit about me, and we'll do another video with Kendall and I both together. But I just wanted to, again, this was an impromptu video. A lot has happened within the last year. As you know, Kendall and I were living in Jamaica, and we still are. We just kind of like back and forth now more in the States. The hurricane happened, and it seemed like from that point to even this point, and I must admit that this point is starting to get a little clarity, which is why I feel like this is an appropriate time for me to like resurface, if you will. So the hurricane happened. Of course, it was a Category 5, Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica. It hit Montego Bay pretty hard. The island is recovering beautifully, I must say. And I must add that the community and the vibrations of community and tribe and everyone looking out for each other definitely played a significant role. It was very palpable for me and Kendall, and we really enjoyed just we didn't enjoy the process, of course, the hurricane itself, but the aftermath really taught us a lot. But I will wait maybe a little bit for Kendall to do us that video together. I want to more or less talk about, I guess, my personal journey within this whole scheme of things. And like I said, Kendall and I will come back on together as a unit and talk about, things concerning us together. But so I had been in nurse practitioner school since the latter part of 2024. I already had a master's program. Excuse me, I already had a master's degree. I pursued a postmaster's program in adult gerontology, primary care nurse practitioner, and I'm happy to report that I'll be graduating this month on the 29th of May. And I'm so excited about that. That was definitely a milestone. I had many reasons as to why I decided at this ripe, beautiful age to embark on that journey. A lot of it was me serving my community more efficiently, more competently, and with more knowledge and skills. And part of it was entrepreneurship, because I want to also use my talents and skills and knowledge to be able to build a brand and a business while helping the community and supporting. So that was that. So I'm happy to announce that I'll be officially graduating on the 29th of May. The journey was long, but it was definitely worth it. And now I'm in the process of studying for my certifications, which has been a bit of a challenge, only because so much has happened life wise while all that's been going on. So I'm gonna say relocation, but I will say um, the biphasic living. I'll put it that way for lack of better terms, meaning Kendall and I have relocated back to the States, but not abandoning our vision for Jamaica. We still have our retreat that was supposed to take place last year in November because of the hurricane had to get shifted. So we had to project it out. So that'll be taking place on June 25th to the 29th of this year, 2026, for whoever might be watching this video like later. So a lot of rebalancing with that, a lot of considerations with that. But for life purposes and for the appropriateness of where we are, we decided to move back. We relocated to Georgia, but we still have residents in Jamaica. So we will be still going back and forth. But right now, we're primarily in the States. Um, a lot has shifted. I want to talk a little bit about relationships, familiar relationships, friendships, and then boundaries. Okay. So I've learned a lot about adult relationships and family dynamics, and that they require maturity, communication, boundaries, and grace. What I've learned in this season, just to give a synopsis, is everybody processes differently. As we know, it goes without saying, but sometimes it needs to be said that everybody processes differently. Not every misunderstanding needs a war. You can, in fact, be emotionally intelligent and communicate with maturity, respect, and still honor yourself. Peace matters more than proving a point. Sometimes people just are really committed to misunderstanding instead of getting facts. And this goes with whatever relationship. I'm not just speaking on one dynamic of a relationship, it can go across the board. But these are just things that just have come very, very clear, that I just feel like I wanted to share. I will be completing my book here soon, very soon. And I bring the book up because it talks a lot about dynamics. It talks a lot about generational curses. It talks a lot about communication within relationships. It talks about the lack of communications within relationships and how they can be detrimental and damaging. And need I say, sometimes unnecessarily damaging if parties involved would just decide that they want to talk it out versus assumptions. You can love people and still protect your energy. You really can. I feel like sometimes when we are overwhelmed, in the past, it's been very taboo to take a step back and just kind of collect yourselves. Now we're getting into the era in the era where mental health is um, a lot more advocated for. And so people are not needing permission to take a beat when they need one, but realizing, and that comes from interpersonal relationship as well. That comes with the relationship that you have for yourself, the love that you have for yourself, and self care overall, which is something that we always try to advocate for. Do we always get it right? No, but we're very much proponents and facilitators of self care. But it seems like people use that when you're trying to be a proponent of that and advocate for that, people kind of use that, oh, as you don't have problems, you don't get knocked off your block sometimes, you don't have challenges. And sometimes we don't always pick the premium solution. We have to navigate. We're human beings, first of all. Let's stop there. We're human beings. So sometimes we have to navigate through things at our own pace and course. And there be times where that's misunderstood. So the lesson in that is I stopped chasing closure from people who aren't emotionally available to give it. Because sometimes we can feel the guilt, like it goes back to being able to rest without guilt, having to feel like you have to owe explanation after explanation. But sometimes people are not always forthcoming with their explanations in truth. So that was just one thing to talk about when we're talking about relationships, family friend dynamics. It could be any kind of dynamic of a relationship and the boundaries. Let's talk about mental and emotional lessons, okay? This part resonates very, very hard. It's a big part of our beingness, but it's a very hard thing because people feel that when you show emotion, when you request things emotionally or mentally, when you request even support, that sometimes that can look different ways for different people, and it can be misinterpreted, especially if you're a person that has always been solution oriented, but you doesn't mean you have to walk around like looking downtrodden or putting all or spewing your emotions on Facebook or whatever the case may be. So I realized that burnout doesn't always look dramatic. I know that, but some people don't. Some people think that just because you're not rolling on the floor, or like I said, putting all of your business on Facebook or spewing, whatever obscenities, people think that you're not going through anything and that you're not burned out because we get conditioned to be the strong person or the strong one. And that's a very much a misconception. So, I guess in all that saying that, look out for your strong friends. Look out for your strong family members because they too need to be checked on. Everybody is human. We go through things, we navigate through things. And dare I say that if you're living this life, you're not always repeating the same thing. You're repeating things of elevation because God is trying to get us to a place where we can take those past and previous situations, build on them, but we have new challenges because when we say life be life, we have new challenges, and how we deal with those challenges will look different through that process in that journey. So just check on your people. Check on your people. You never, never, ever know what people are going through. Sometimes you're functioning, but mentally exhausted. Let me say that again. Sometimes you're functioning, but you're mentally exhausted. I'm going to pause here because I know what I'm about to say, and I'm not ashamed to say it because I'm vulnerable. I'm human. I want people to know that even though you are a facilitator of wellness retreats, even though you talk about meditation, even though you do yoga, even though you practice mindfulness, even though you do all these things, all you utilize all these tools, I feel like people take away the humanistic aspect of when you're going through trials and tribulations and challenges. And so, there's a level of judgment and misappropriation there, or misconception. Um, Everybody has a perception, we get that. But there is a thing when you're still able to function and people just look at you like, oh, you're good, all the while not knowing that you are breaking down. Your body's breaking down. Your mental state is breaking down. For me, I'll speak for me. I've been in the military. I'm retired now, but I've been in the military for over 20 and a half years. And you're just kind of conditioned to be solution oriented. Does it mean that you need less support, less help, that you're not breaking down on the inside? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that you are just conditioned without even thinking about it. It's subconscious to find the silver lining or find what is that we got to do. You know what I'm saying? There has been many, many, many of nights that I have not slept or have minimal sleep, and I am pulling at the spiritual straws of God. And just out of desperation, and thanks be to God that I have a relationship with my higher power, and I draw my energy and everything off and answers to navigate this life. And then almost every morning, not every morning, but almost every morning, God had given me a snippet, not even everything at once, a snippet of a solution. And with that snippet of a solution, just having the faith to move forward in that and know that it's going to work out. I Or, you're trying to make finances meet. Okay. You might be short here and there, robbing people, whatever the case may be. It's so many things that can plague us to weigh us down mentally and emotionally. It could be finances, it could be relationships, it could just be a new decision. Okay. It could be a unplanned event. It could be anything for any one of us. And so I'm kind of like generally talking, but however it resonates as you're hearing this message, let it fall where it goes. But I know that I'm on the money when I say you can be mentally and emotionally exhausted and nobody would ever know. And I'm not saying that people are supposed to walk around being a mind reader, but if you know the person, if you know who you're dealing with and you know your friends and your family, something should tell you when something is off. And that's why so many times, and I'm not trying to like make anyone a victim. I'm not even a victim. I'm not a victim at all. I'm not even trying to put it out there like that. And I hate that when you start to verbalize and be open and vulnerable, that that's sometimes the word that people go to. No, you really need to be careful of that. There are many, many examples of victims, but what I'm talking about is not that. I'm talking about someone that's really been that's hanging on by a thread. And they're trying the best that they know how to verbalize what they're going through. And it just seems like you're being thrown and cast away as you're okay. Okay, let me get off of that for a minute. So I had to stop being strong all the time. And what's the funny thing is, I never personally have ever put out that I got everything together. I've never put out there that everything is perfect in my life. That's a lie for anyone to say, to tell. But I just feel like sometimes the perception, because you are so action oriented and people don't know what the A through Z behind the scenes process has been for you, it can give that appearance. And people that resonate with what I'm saying, it doesn't mean that you have to do any certain thing different. It doesn't mean like you have to talk a different way. It doesn't mean like you have to make yourself worse off than what you really are in order for people to take an account or consider that you could be going through a distressful situation. It's none of that. Don't do that. I'm just putting it out there for those that are in my shoes because I have been looked at as that person that has all the answers, that knows everything. These are perceptions that people have had of even me. And I know I'm not the only one, which is why I'm saying it. But be careful how you put your mouth on people. Be careful of that perception. Know without a doubt that everyone goes through something sometimes. And just check in. Um, I learned rest is productive too. As much as we want to have these goals and aspirations and things to do lists and we want to see everything checked off, we also need to check off that I took time to soak my feet today. I need to check off, I took time to take me a spiritual bath today. I need to check off, I took time to take a walk today. You know, checking off the things that are action oriented are just as checking off the things, excuse me, what I was about to say, checking off the things that go towards your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your physical health. But specifically, I'm talking about mental and emotional health. Those things that you take to do, checking those items are off are just as important, if not more important, than checking off your action oriented tasks. They're just they're actually more important because if you're not of sound mind and emotional stability, then those other things are just busy work. But being intentional when you actually take the time to take care of your mental space, your spiritual space, your emotional state, those things are where intention is birthed at. Those are the things that mature your intentions. You're not just doing things just to say you did it. That's where your intentions are birthed at. Okay? So your nervous system keeps score. And a lot of our nervous systems, at least mine, has been under severe attack. Okay. Let me say, because I feel led to say, and not to make anyone more important, more significant, but I realize that all of us have different skills, different callings, different visions, different assignments in this life. And sometimes Depending on your assignment, Diamond, depending on your assignment, come here, Diamond. Okay. Depending on your assignment, depending on what you're called to do, and only you can speak to that, there is a measure of challenges that you are to navigate to make you stronger, to prove that God is God in your life, to prove that you have a purpose and a plan, and God has a purpose and a plan for you. And sometimes it's misunderstood, just to put it plainly. It's misunderstood, it's miscalculated, and a lot of assumptions can come from that. So, all right. So lessons, people. Okay, so let's go up here. And again, I'm looking at my notes here so that I won't forget anything. So not every season is meant to be understood immediately. I can tell you that I've done a couple of plant medicine journeys, and during those journeys, I've been shown things, visions. I've journaled things that I didn't understand why I was needing to document them. But 6 months, a year, 2 years, and sometimes even 5 years, looking back on those things that were shown to me, that were journaled, that was felt, however the divine allowed it to come through my senses for me to put it somewhere of record, going back, then you realize that's why I had to go through that. That's why I met that person. That's why I had to navigate that this way, even though it wasn't understood. So don't despise that. Don't despise the things that the divine, the most high, whoever it is that you name to be your higher power. Don't despise those inclinations, those deposits. Don't despise that, because it's for something. It might not be for the here and now, but it could be something that's going to happen down the road that you'll need to recollect in order to give gratitude, thanks, and praise for, because you're now having the tools, or you're having the recollection of how to navigate that process. Okay. Discipline matters more than motivation. So motivation comes and goes, but systems and disciplines carry you. Okay. That's the discipline of prayer. That's the discipline of having your quiet time in the morning. Those things will carry you in those moments where your defenses are down and you feel weak and weary. Those are the things we have to keep putting into our bank account so that we can make a withdrawal when it's time. Stop announcing your every move. Oh my God. Protect your vision while it's growing. There are times where people will have a unhealthy expectation. We all have them. Don't let me say that we all have them. But sometimes there'll be people that have unhealthy expectations on knowing your every move. And that can be from oversharing. There'll be a season where you overshare, but then there'll be a season of maturity where you learn that oversharing kind of gets you in muddy waters. Oversharing sometimes lock you into a decision without you even knowing it sometimes, but will not allow you, or it's almost like you need permission to change your mind. And nobody needs that. Like, for real, especially if you're good and grown. Nobody needs permission to change their mind on anything, especially if you are seeking the most high for your every move. What you think you're going to do one day might be something very much different than what your guides, your angels, your ancestors, God tells you to do. And you need to be allowed to do that. And so that's where the maturity and the wisdom, should I say, comes into not allowing everyone to be a part of your vision. There'll be some select few that you let them know the genesis of your vision, of what you're, trying to do or trying to pursue. And it doesn't mean that every single step has to align right away. There'll be some that you decide to share with in the middle, and there'll be some that you need to leave when it's all said and done. When the situation has concluded, then if you feel led to share, then you share. Okay? Delayed does not mean denied. Delayed does not mean denied. Stop. Some things take longer than expected, but I'm realizing that timing matters. Timing matters when you really, really want to be intentional about being in alignment. There's that. When you want to be intentional, that's what this is all about, honestly. That's what this whole journey is trying to be intentional, not just what they old people say, going by the seat of your bootstraps, so to speak. And we all, even that on a level, we do. But just being intentional, okay? This is a good one here. Give yourself grace. I've had to learn how to stop punishing myself for being human. Yeah. Because a lot of us have this, sometimes we do have a complex of trying to make the right decisions all the time, first time around. Now, as much as we aim to do that, that is not always the case and it's not always realistic. So we have to understand that we're human. We will err, we will make mistakes, we will offend. Hopefully, it's not intentional of offending anyone. But when you realize when you err, then also be intentional about apologizing and taking accountability. That's important as well. Okay. You can reinvent yourself at any age. I'm literally entering. Oh, okay, this was a note. So I just turned 48 on April 25th. I just turned 48. Happy belated birthday to me. Okay. Um, and with age, not all the time, I'm not even gonna talk about age. I'm gonna just talk about maturity and wisdom. Okay. And as I continue to go through this journey called life, there's a lot of changes within myself. Okay. My experiences have shaped me. My spiritual practice has shaped me. Um, Learning to accept that aging is a process that we all have to go through. So there's also an aging of your body, there's also an aging of your mind, you know what I'm saying? But let me go back to the body thing because I feel like a lot of women need to hear this. Perimenopause and menopause is something that has been very, very much buzzing, which I'm glad that it is. That's actually one of the specialties that I want to pursue after I'm certified as a nurse practitioner. That is definitely near and dear to my heart, much because I myself am going through the change of life, as we used to say it. But it's also because so much taboo has been put into this change that we must go through, that we have to go through, that is destined for us to go through. Even men, you may not be going through perimenopause and menopause, but all of us, our physical body is aging. Yes, we do as much as we can to eat right, to have physical activity, to be consistent in that, but all of us are still moving through this journey called life, and we must stop and acknowledge the milestones that we go through. So that's very, very important. So when I say reinvent yourself, it's just pretty much saying acknowledging what your new normal is, wherever you are. It could be mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. Acknowledge where your new normal is, whatever that might mean for you. Okay. Oh, peace is expensive. Finally understanding why people protect it so hard. It's something that we say, my peace is priceless. I say it all the time. But when I tell you that in the thick of things, your peace is priceless and you have to guard it, your very life depends on it. A lot of people, unfortunately, they have decided to unalive themselves because of lack of peace, and my heart goes out to them because any one of us are one catastrophic event away, and you never know what that is. So we have to be careful how we put our mouth on people because you never know what someone is going through behind closed doors. The most you can do, the best at what you can do is check on them. And if you can't check on them, pray for them. Pray for them with intention that whatever it is that they're going through and whatever turmoil that's robbing them of their peace, that you pray for them and mean it. Okay. So there's that. Oh my God, it's been so much said, and I'm already at 30 minutes, but I will go ahead and table it here. But again, I say, I just wanted to just post something to, um, I just felt led to do it first of all, didn't need a reason, but I just felt like this is a good time. This is a good place to pinpoint or to stop and allow those those that know me and those that might tune in for the first time, whatever time frame you look at this video, must just believe that it was timely because the video is timeless. The information that's been shared has is timeless and someone needed to hear it. And so I just wanted to be vulnerable and let everyone know that, yeah, we've been away, I've been away, but we're getting back to our new normal. We're getting to our new normal, not getting back to it, but we're getting to our new normal and better things are coming. Even though wherever you might find yourself, you may be in the thick of some things, you might be coming out of some things, but life is a revolving door. You're either going into something or you're coming out of something, or you might be in a good middle ground. But when you're at that good middle ground, make sure you're having these deposits. Make sure you're giving yourself your spiritual deposits, your mental deposits, your emotional deposits. Make sure you're protecting your peace. You're preserving your peace. Okay? Protect your visions, your dreams. Write, journal. Because there is something to be said about something you wrote 2 years ago and you go back and read it today. And it's so much more clearer because you have the experience to marry it. Okay? All right. I think I've said enough. I love you all so much. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Someone needs to hear what I'm saying. And even if it's not for someone else, it might be for you. But I'm just putting it out in the universe and I'm letting it fall where it goes. And until we see each other again, I love you all. Ashe, take care.